I want to briefly touch on Will Levis and the Tennessee Titans. Will Levis has been a pretty decent surprise, at least as far as I'm concerned, in Tennessee. I didn't really know what to think of Will Levis coming out of Kentucky. I knew he had a huge arm. I knew that he was probably a little bit underrated, maybe getting overlooked a little bit, but I just had no idea what to expect. He started a lot of games at Kentucky, but at times, he was erratic, made some really questionable decisions throwing the football, had some really bad interceptions, but you got to realize, Will Levis went to the University of Kentucky, okay? He didn't go to Ohio State, Oklahoma, Alabama, where 4 and 5-star players, they grow on trees at those universities. So, oddly enough, I do think going to the University of Kentucky prepared Will Levis for the NFL, because in the NFL, sometimes you're not going to have 5 to 6 seconds to throw the football. You're not going to have these elite wide receivers, You're going to potentially have to elevate your coaching staff. Sometimes you're going to have a left tackle that's injured, a running back that's injured. You're going to be dealing with young receivers. The NFL is about overcoming. And I think Will Levis got a taste of what it's like to be the main guy and truly had to elevate a group of human beings around him at Kentucky. And Will Levis's NFL debut, it was phenomenal. I mean, the guy was throwing the football down the field, throwing deep balls, showing off that big, strong arm. I mean, it looked incredible. I'm not one to overreact to one game, but that's one of the more impressive quarterback performances I've seen, not just from a rookie this season, but just anyone point blank, period. Now, obviously, Will Levis, the second game, that he started this season versus the Pittsburgh Steelers, was kind of what you expected, maybe not as dynamic. Coaches have a week to prepare for him and see what he did well in that debut. And, Will Levis didn't necessarily light the world on fire, but the Titans had a chance to win that game, and they were right there. All I'm here to tell you right now is Will Levis has provided juice for the Tennessee Titans the first 2 games he started. And usually, all I'm saying, people, is when it comes to great quarterbacks, it does not take you long to recognize who can shine in the National Football League and who can't. Patrick Mahomes, we saw it early. A guy like Josh Rosen, we saw it early, but not in good terms. We saw it in bad terms. The guy couldn't read a defense. He really struggled to process. We didn't see the high-end upside compared to other young quarterbacks in the NFL, and Arizona bailed on Josh Rosen immediately. All I'm saying is when it comes to Will Levis, I'm not here to overreact, but as far as just the natural talent and the traits are concerned, he's got a real NFL arm. I mean, that's a cannon for an arm, people. Pretty athletic, big, strong, can move, can make great down the field throws, and even the short and intermediate routes that he was throwing to, that was kind of the knock on Will Levis was, we know about his huge arm, but does he have an off-speed pitch? Can he throw a changeup? Can he throw a curveball? I know those are baseball terms, but we've seen Will Levis be a good decision maker, be patient in the pocket, kind of take what the defense has been giving him. And if you're a Titans fan, you have to be super excited for Will Levis and what he potentially could become, because the Tennessee Titans were in danger of being in no man's land. What do I mean by that? In the NFL, you either want to be a lock for 10 wins and the playoffs, or you want to be one of the 5 worst teams in the entire NFL. This crap of, we're good enough to win games here or there, but we're not going to make the playoffs. We're not close to a Super Bowl contender. But, we won 7, 8 games. That's not the territory you want to necessarily be in. And that's the exact territory Tennessee was in, where they're not bad enough to tank, but they are clearly not in the Kansas City Chiefs, the Buffalo Bills, the Baltimore Ravens, and the Miami Dolphins class, where they're not close to being a Super Bowl contender. But when it comes to Will Levis, it seems like when you get the quarterback right, everything seems to fall into place a whole lot better. Look at a guy like DeAndre Hopkins. A lot of people thought, DeAndre Hopkins is washed. What a bad signing by the Titans. He's not that good anymore. DeAndre Hopkins out of a sudden, out of nowhere, is catching long touchdown passes because Will Levis is good, and Ryan Tannehill, as much success as he's had in the NFL, and he's put together a pretty decent career, but he's cooked. Okay, he does not provide juice for your franchise anymore. If Ryan Tannehill is your starting quarterback, you are a limited football team. You're not to be taken seriously. The Ryan Tannehill experiment, it needs to end. He needs to go. They need to move on from him. And I think Tennessee recognizes this, where they pretty much have moved on from Ryan Tannehill. And they've given the keys to Will Levis. And we'll see what Will Levis is going to become. He wasn't a first round pick, was kind of doubted by some people. But all I'm saying is there's something to potentially work with here. And Will Levis, he looks like he could provide juice for the Tennessee Titans. And he could be the quarterback. Will Levis could be the quarterback that ultimately saves the Tennessee Titans from consistent mediocrity and no man's land in the NFL. Because like I said, you want to be either a lock for 10 wins in the playoffs or have a top 5 draft pick every single year and stockpile talent. And I think Tennessee, if Will Levis can continue to look like what he's looked like, that's a potential franchise quarterback and a guy you can build around. So if you're the Titans, what was there really to be excited about with Tennessee? DeAndre Hopkins, Derrick Henry, maybe. But Will Levis, a potential quarterback that's on a rookie deal, that's cheap, that's dynamic and can make plays, that's something that you can be excited about. And the thing you like about Will Levis is he started a ton of games in college, and I like the fact that he's kind of looked apart early because, look, I'm sick and tired of guys like Desmond Ridder coming into the NFL, guys that had a bunch of starts, and you say, oh, they just need more time. No, guys. Desmond Ridder started 50-plus games in college. He should be well developed. He should be well seasoned. There should only be so many growing pains you go through, especially if you have a star wide receiver, good running backs, a good tight end, and a good offensive line, and an offensive-minded head coach in Arthur Smith. So when it comes to the Desmond Ridder experiment in Atlanta, I'm kind of done with that because I don't want to hear that, oh, this guy needs to develop when he's played a ton of games in college. You look at Justin Herbert, started an extra season at Oregon, came into the NFL, immediately crushed it. That's what you should be expecting. When you come back to college for an extra year and you get development, I expect you to be well seasoned. If you're a Dwayne Haskins, or maybe a Kyler Murray, where those guys had, 1 year to start in college, a guy like Trey Lance who, really didn't start a ton of games in college, I'm willing to give them a little bit more of a leash because they're very inexperienced players. But if you started a ton of games in college, I'm not here for the excuses. So when it comes to Will Levis, I'm intrigued. And I think that if he can continue to look like what he's looked like, that's one of the more talented young quarterbacks in the NFL, no doubt about it. And he's got some potential going forward if he can continue to get better.